Hey guys, thanks for joining me. I'm sitting down here today with Steven. He is I don't know, I was gonna say a legendary Etsy seller. I don't know if you've achieved legendary status. We can debate what the bar is for that maybe, but he's gonna basically tell us like how he became a top 0.01% Etsy seller and basically help you replicate his success, which sounds like a ridiculous plug, but he's like a super nice guy who is like very open
Mm.
about how he's been so successful. So I'm excited for this interview. Steven, thanks for being here.
Yeah, of course, dude. Super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So I want to start off by you kind of told me, but I want you to share, if you don't mind, like how you got started with Etsy and what your like initial, first attempt at it was and how you kind of, ended up where you are today.
Yeah, so I first found out about selling on Etsy about 2.5 years ago. And I was pretty fortunate that at that time I had already been selling online for about 3 years. So I already had that foundation of like what it took to sell on a third party marketplace like Etsy. So it was like 2.5 years ago, it was like June 2020, the peak of COVID. One of our mutual friends, Jesse, a super successful Etsy seller, him and his family came to visit for about a week. And I remember him saying, like, bro, like I launched face masks on an Etsy store like 2 weeks ago. And he like showed me his phone. I was like, bro, you made $3,000 today. So he's like, dude, I'm making like $3,000 to $4,000 a day right now selling face masks on Etsy. He's like, I know you're working on other projects right now, but like you should launch face masks on Etsy. So I was like, dude, I'm sold. I'm selling face masks on Etsy 100%. So he was like, buy this printer, buy this heat press, buy these masks. He's like, don't copy me, but good luck. So like that day we bought all the equipment. The week it took for everything to get shipped to my house, I spent that time like setting up my Etsy account, launching all the listings, doing all the research, creating the graphics. So that way when everything came, I could just turn it on. Like I literally made like 17 sales that first day, like 30 sales the next day, like 60 sales, like 120, 300 sales, and like 500 sales a day by like day 5,
Dude,
which
that's dream scenario.
it's crazy. Like it sounds amazing, like telling you the story now, but like keep in mind, like that's 500 masks a day I had to make by myself in my garage in the dark. Like, and I still didn't even know how to use the heat press. So like, I don't know if you can see my gray hair, but I did not have gray hair 2.5 years ago. So well, essentially I was working like 16 hours a day for the next like 90 days straight. We grew out of my garage within like a week. By like 2 weeks in, we had like 3 employees. By like 2 months in, I think we had like 15 employees. We moved into like even a bigger unit. We're averaging like 800 to 1,000 handmade masks a day. And it was just like, it was
Ask
just
issues.
masks.
How did you stock them? Like, I mean, I'm just curious, man, because like I was thinking like the FBA angle of it. Like I thought about it, but then I was like, I don't want to get in trouble with Amazon, and I don't know. I don't want to hijack your story, but it's like, would you have trouble stocking them? And any,
Dude,
what were you
not,
selling them
not
for?
only,
Like, what was your profits like, if you
yeah,
don't
dude.
mind?
Not only did we have a hard time stocking them, but we had a hard time supplying them. We were having inventory coming from the U.S. suppliers, from Canada. We were buying from China. We were trying to just anyone who was willing to sell us a polyester white face mask, we were buying it. So,
Gotcha.
and we were buying it in bulk because like knowing that like we were just ramping so fast and knowing that like some people could be out of stock, we were buying like a month's supply at a time. But yeah, dude, it ramped up super fast. But when mask mandates ended, like in January the next year, like the business died just as fast as it ramped up. So we went from like 500 a day to like 5 a day overnight. So it was like at that point, I was like, I've fallen in love with Etsy. I've fallen in love with like selling print products. I've fallen in love with being a boss, my employees. Like, I don't want to just like stop what we're doing. So instead of like starting something different, we decided to just like rebuild our print shop. So from the ground up over these last like 1.5 years, we just been launching new print products on our Etsy shop. And we've been able to now build our Etsy business back up to what it was doing when we were selling masks. So I made my first $1 million on Etsy selling face masks, leveraging, the mandates. And I made my next $1.5 million revenue on Etsy selling print products. So yeah, dude, that's my Etsy story.
Dude, that's awesome. I'm like dying to know, like just a ballpark of like price point, you know what I mean? And like, if you don't mind, like what were your margins looking like on like a sale, you know?
Yeah. So the cool thing about like when you're doing something like personalized, like you can sell it for like a markup, right? So we were selling these face masks for like $10 and we were buying them for like $1 and it cost us like $1 in labor. We're making like $7, maybe $6 after marketing expenses. So it was super high profit, super high velocity. And we made a lot of money, and we were able to like just take that and then just put it back into the business to, again, like we had to rebuild, right? So that's kind of how we're able to build to our next $1.5 million in such a fast period of time. It's because we were able to like leverage that capital as well as the knowledge at that point.
Dude, that's crazy, man. I love hearing that. the whole face mask thing too. I remember like I was super plugged into the kind of the COVID thing, like before people, people are like, yeah, in March. And I was like, yeah, I was like very plugged in like December, of the year
Mm.
before, you know what I mean? Cause like, I'm not, if it's really that serious, like I'm not going to risk anything about me and my family. So I was like,
Mm.
my brain was working so fast back then. I was like, I'm going to import masks from China. And then they're like, they're going to stop exporting. So I was like, I'm going to get them from India. And then I was about to wire all this money. And I was like, but what if they keep my money and don't send them? Because then all of a sudden they can't send them. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So we were pretty fortunate in that, like, the cool thing about having a print shop is you just buy all white face masks and then you just print a graphic onto it. So in terms of stock, in terms of buying product, it was super easy for us because we were just buying white face masks. So we were able to find someone local for that. But then it put the work on our plate to then personalize and customize and make them into like the hundreds of listings that we had.
Got you, man. Yeah. It was like, and plus you're selling them at a good price point. Like for me, it would have just kind of been like flipping them at like a multiple, which was like highly frowned upon, at the time, obviously. So, so what does your Etsy kind of journey look like today? We know your roots and you pivoted obviously away from face masks. Like, do you mind, you don't have to tell us, I guess, product type, but like what makes your business so successful if you wanted to kind of summarize? Because a lot of people watching, like everybody wants your success. I want your success. What is the gap? Like, why aren't we as successful as you?
Yeah, so it probably comes down to like more than just one thing. I think part of it is I didn't launch an Etsy business as like a hobby. So like if you do it as a hobby, you're gonna get hobby results. Like I went into it like this is my full-time thing. I was working 16 hours a day. We have employees, we got places, we have a warehouse, right? So it's like we treated it like a business. So we got business results, right? It wasn't like in my spare time or on the weekends. It was like 16 hours a day for like the next 3 months. And then I still work 40 hours a day on the business right now. So part of it is just like the mindset of like, this is this is my bread and my butter. Like I feed my children with this money. So I'm not like treating it like a hobby. The next part of it is it's the process. So like we sell 4 different product categories since the face masks. And I think it goes down to like how we find the products, how we build out the products, how we launch the products. And I contribute a lot of the success to the process, which we can dive into that if you want. But then with that, it all comes down to, again, I think the product. So it's like you can have a poop product, you're gonna make no money, but if you have a good product, you're gonna make good money.
So does that involve like kind of, it reminds me almost of FBA, where like I personally, even in my route of like Amazon FBA, and you tried FBA, right?
Yeah, so I don't talk about that much, but before this business,
You don't have to.
I failed 10 other businesses before this business. So like in terms of advice, like don't give up because like it's gonna hit eventually. So I did try FBA 3 times and I failed every single time. So
Hey, but you're better off for it, right? Because now you're doing your thing on Etsy. But I was just gonna say, like when I'm doing FBA and I've made like big successes. I mean, I guess on a relative basis, not as big as your successes, but on FBA by just like looking at what's out there and then just finding, I know people, it's kind of common to say like, then you just improve upon it. But like for me, sometimes it was as simple as just ordering samples from different factories and being like, this one has a much better product than all of the rest. I'm just going to launch these at a higher price point. And over time, the reviews are going to speak for themselves. And it's like, it's worked. So are you doing stuff like that? Or is it just that like, you have the customization aspect? And I mean, I've seen your Etsy shop. You were nice enough to share with me. Like you have like a beautiful way of like creating listings that is just compelling. So is it that? Is it everything?
Yeah. So success leaves clues. So like you're saying, like you find a product, you went to all the manufacturers, you just launched the better of the 3. So like success leaves clues. So like I don't really like innovate. Like I don't reinvent the wheel. Like I'm not trying to like, launch something innovative. I find something that I like, that'll be okay with selling, that is selling well. And then I just find people that are already doing it. And then I just like, I call it mirroring, where it's like, I take their products and I make my versions of it. So like, that's the way how I add value to the market is I make it either better or different, but I only sell something that's already selling currently.
Got you. And how, like, I guess what percentage of, your products, like, are you offering personalization on? Is that like a huge thing for you, the personalization aspect? Or even with like face masks, like you said, personalized face masks, in my mind, I just pictured like you coming up with, how a lot of people just went to Google Images and just like ripped off like stupid ass memes or something, like, and I just assumed kind of like you're probably just doing that and making easy sales. But like, were a lot of your face mask personalized, and is your stuff still like heavy personalization?
Yeah. So when I launched the face masks, I said personalized because like we only sell personalized now, but they were custom. So they were just like patterns, like bees or, pumpkins for Halloween, or bats for Halloween, or like Santa Clauses for Christmas. So we just did, just patterns. So they were custom. But nowadays, like that's part of like when I launch a new product, I only launch products that we can personalize because it's a higher barrier to entry. So it takes more work on us, and 99 out of 100 people are not willing to do it. So like when competition goes up in that product category, we're a little bit different because we do it plus personalization. So every product that we sell now is personalized. So we offer that as an option.
But you said you sold over $2.5 million on Etsy, which is a staggering number. Congrats on that. I got to ask, all right, because I'm guilty of publishing a lot of products to support my big revenue numbers. Like, how many listings do you have up there on your Etsy shop, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, so I'm currently selling into like 4 different product categories, and I actually have like less than 500 products. So I only launch about 100 product listings per category. And I know a lot of people who, sell print products on Etsy. It's more of a numbers game. Like people who do like print on apparel, they might have like 1,000 listings or 2,000 listings. So people in my boat, they would typically have like 4,000, 5,000 listings, which is pretty standard. And I'm able to still hit the numbers that I'm hitting with like 10% of the listings. And the way that I'm able to do that is I'm super intentional with the listings I launch. And I only launch things that I know are going to sell. Like, again, like success leaves clues. So going back into like that process, like I have a process that like creates me like a to-do list of like 100 listings. I launch them and I'm pretty confident that they're going to sell. And I don't launch listings that I know is not going to sell. So I'm very intentional.
That sounds amazing. And you have shown me a little bit of this process, like off camera. Is this something that you wouldn't mind, sharing with our audience?
Yeah, I'm an open book. So anything other than my shop name, I'm willing to share.
That's awesome. So how about this then? I think this interview has been great so far. And guys, if you are with me, if you are enjoying this interview, please, number one, leave a like, let the YouTube algorithm know. And number two, how about this? Drop a comment and say you want to bring Steven back for part 2. We'll leave a cliffhanger. And in part 2, since Steven's willing to share this process with us, how about we resume this at a future date and you can let us know what that process is?
Let's do it. Yeah, that sounds perfect.
Awesome. Well, hey, I really appreciate it. Like, I know you're a busy guy. Your time's valuable. Thank you for being here today. And this has been great. Guys, let us know in the comments that should we bring Steven back? Do you guys want to see that process for how he's making $2.5 million with 4 categories? By the way, when you say categories, is that like product type or is that like niche? Or?
Product type, like shirt, mug, blanket, tumbler, like different product types.
Okay, there it is. Well, hey guys, let us know. Hit us up in the comments. I'm really looking forward to bringing him back. So make sure we get to at least like 50 comments. That should be doable, I think. Steven, thanks again for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys. Leave those comments. I'll come back.